The movie is about a high school senior student who has a habit of climaxing for even the smallest of reasons. There is one problem though. Every time he climaxes, he is sent back in time. The movie opens up as Rob Crabb, an awkward high school student, has a steamy dream about having intercourse with a beautiful woman. Just as he climaxes in the dream, Rob abruptly wakes up in his room. Right at that moment, his mother walks in and notices his wet pants. She awkwardly tells him to throw the bedsheet in the laundry and runs away from the embarrassing sight. After this humiliating start to the day, Rob quickly takes a shower, brushes his teeth, and gets dressed up for school. On the way, he stops near his best friend, Stanley's house. Stanley has a hot girlfriend, Lisa, and regularly boasts about having intercourse with her. Later at school, Stanley and Rob are joined by the latter's childhood friend, Gabrielle, and her super nerdy neighbor, Arthur. The two childhood friends have a long-standing tradition of watching the finale of the TV program Spelling Bee together. Hence, she invites him to her home later that evening to watch the finals, and Rob gladly accepts. In the school hallway, Rob is distracted by his crush, Angela, who is known to sleep only with older guys. Suddenly, a group of boys from the school volleyball team show up and wet Rob's pants with a toy gun. This couldn't come at a worse time, as Rob's all-important interview at Georgetown University is only an hour away. Concerned, Gabrielle suggests that he get a new pair of pants from the lost and found section. However, when Rob cannot find any proper pants, he reluctantly puts on gym shorts. Shortly after, he prepares for his interview in the library along with Stanley. There, Angela surprisingly approaches and asks Rob to help her with an upcoming test. She then invites him over to her house later that night for one-to-one tuition classes. Although Rob is stunned by the unexpected invitation, he turns her down as he already has plans with Gabrielle for the evening. Later in class, Stanley claims that Angela totally wants to sleep with Rob and chastises his friend for turning down the opportunity. Hence, he advises Rob to forfeit his Spell Bee plans and tutor Angela. Soon after, the time for the Georgetown University interview arrives. Admission officer, Jack, asks Rob why he wants to study at Georgetown University. But instead of talking about the good qualities of the institute, the young student mentions that the main reason is because his parents met in Georgetown. This surprisingly breaks Roth into tears as he reveals that he too met his late wife at Georgetown. From that point onwards, the interview only goes downhill as Roth is unable to control his emotions and sobs throughout. After the terrible interview, Rob decides to lighten up the mood by going to Angela's house. He cancels his plan with Gabrielle, lying that he's not feeling well today. Later, Rob arrives at Angela's place, and the two immediately start kissing. She then falls on top of him and slides her hand inside his pants. Extremely turned on, Rob loses self-control and prematurely climaxes in his pants. Suddenly, he wakes up in his bed with wet underwear. His mother walks into the room and awkwardly tells him to throw the bedsheets in the laundry. Rob is confused as he can't tell if he experienced all the events or was merely dreaming. Nevertheless, he gets ready for school and goes downstairs. Later at school, he goes through the same things he saw in his supposed dreams. The volleyball boys again ruin his pants, forcing him to change into gym shorts. In the library, Rob tells Stanley about his dream in which Angela wanted to sleep with him. Just then, Angela arrives and asks him to tutor her, much to Stanley's surprise. This time, Rob agrees without any hesitation. Afterward, during the interview, Roth again breaks into tears and Rob simply walks out instead of comforting him. He then goes to the school clinic and asks a nurse to check if he is ill. However, he immediately leaves after seeing the school nurse misdiagnosing a sick student. Later, on his way to Angela's home, Rob realizes that he forgot to cancel his plans with Gabrielle. However, he ignores it and cycles to his destination. Upon reaching her house, they start kissing and get intimate. Rob once again climaxes prematurely, and the very next second, he wakes up in his bedroom. For the second time, everything that happened previously repeats from the start. This confuses him, but he is still unsure if everything is merely a dream. The scene then shifts to Stanley's room, where he is in bed with his hot girlfriend Lisa. He inquires why she hides their relationship from everyone, and Lisa tells him that she can't be seen with an unpopular guy like him. Their conversation is cut short when Rob directly barges into the bedroom to talk to his friend. However, Lisa, who is in her nightgown, seduces both of them, making them climax. Unsurprisingly, the day is reset once more. Rob rushes to school and tries to talk to Gabrielle about his problem. Like clockwork, the annoying volleyball boys appear and shoot him with the water gun. But this time, Rob loses his temper, breaks the toy, and proceeds to verbally abuse the bullies. This infuriates the volleyball boys, and they chase him throughout the school. Even when Rob manages to lock himself inside a room, the bullies find him and start banging on the door. Realizing that he doesn't have much time left, Rob decides to use his superpower and starts fapping in a corner of the room. Soon he climaxes and resets the day for the 4th time. His mother walks in on him, but instead of being embarrassed, Rob is glad that he managed to escape the bullies. Later, he smokes weed with Gabrielle on the school bus. There, the two talk about their friendship, and from their conversation, it's revealed that Rob saved Gabrielle from bullies in elementary school. Ever since, they have been there for each other. This makes Rob emotional, and he promises Gabrielle that no matter what, they'll always keep their annual tradition of watching the spelling bee alive. Following this, he appears for the Georgetown interview, during which he counsels Roth on how to cope with his wife's death. Afterward, he barges into a class and grabs his teacher's breasts. Carefree, he then encounters his childhood bully, Sally, at the school cafeteria and decides to take revenge. Without warning, he punches the girl in front of everyone. Consequently, Rob gets called to the principal's office, where he is informed that all his actions will soon land him at the police station. Hearing this, Rob finally panics and runs away from the office. He then approaches Stanley and explains everything, but the latter has no clue what his friend is talking about. Rob then rushes to the girls' locker room and tries to climax, but he cannot concentrate enough. This devastates him, so he walks out of the locker room and decides to turn himself in. But just then, he is confronted by Sally, who kicks him in the groin. This miraculously leads him to climax, and the time is reset again. That night, Rob goes straight to Gabrielle's house and comes clean to her about everything. She finds it hard to believe but still keeps an open mind. She tells him about her secret fantasy about Abraham Lincoln that no one knows. She then asks Rob to repeat her secret fantasy the next time, and this will prove that he's telling the truth. Following this, Gabrielle takes Rob to the school's smartest boy, Arthur's home, to seek his help. However, there, Arthur's superstitious grandmother attacks him, calling him a Jadugar. Arthur's mother and Gabrielle come to his rescue and put themselves between the two. Unfortunately, the friction from Arthur's mother arouses Rob, and he again ends up resetting the day. Enraged, Rob confronts Arthur in school and demands to know the meaning of Jadugar. Confused, Arthur hesitates to help him and runs away. Rob follows him to the washroom and shoves his head into the toilet bowl until he reveals that the word means cursed. Rob then demands to know how to break the curse. However, Arthur swears he has no idea how to help, and Rob finally lets him go. Afterward, the cursed high school kid again explains to Gabrielle and Stanley about the infinite loop he is stuck in. To prove himself, he tells Gabrielle about her Abraham Lincoln fantasy that she told him in the previous cycle. This finally convinces the duo that Rob is not lying. After hearing him out, Stanley hypothesizes that maybe Rob got cursed because he did something wrong and must do it correctly to break it. This makes him think long and hard about what he did wrong. After a while, Rob comes up with the conclusion that he didn't have intercourse with Angela, which is why he is stuck in this loop. Hence, later that night, he arrives at Angela's house and the two begin to make out. This time, the teenager is able to exercise more self-control. However, Angela tells him that they can have as much intercourse as they want, but he must do her homework after he returns home. Hearing this, Rob realizes that Angela doesn't love him and that she is only using him to do her homework. It also dawns on him that he is supposed to be with Gabrielle and not Angela. Outside, he runs into his father, Jim, who has found out that Rob skipped his interview. Refusing to let his son ruin his life, Jim takes him to the hotel where Roth is staying. There, they join Roth in the restaurant, and the latter asks Jim why he is adamant about sending his son to Georgetown. Jim tells him about the things he gained from the university. However, Roth replies that maybe his son doesn't want the same things he wanted from his life. After a while, Rob excuses himself to fetch some drinks on the bar TV. He sees the spelling bee final. It suddenly dawns on Rob that he likes Gabrielle. But he still didn't go to her that evening, and perhaps that's why the day keeps rewinding. Rob returns to the table and tells his father that he likes Gabrielle, and he doesn't want to go to Georgetown. Jim is slightly upset, but he agrees to support his son's decision. Following this, both Jim and Roth take Rob to Gabrielle's home and help him climb her window. Once Rob climbs into her bedroom, he explains everything to Gabrielle and reveals that he didn't sleep with Angela. However, Gabrielle is still upset with him and asks him to leave. When he refuses, she takes off her top, so he can get aroused and reset the day. The commotion attracts the attention of Gabriel's father, and he rushes to her room. She is embarrassed, and Rob clarifies that he is not trying to exploit her. Instead, he expresses his love for her, admitting it took him too long to realize his feelings. Sadly, she doesn't say a word, and a distraught Rob proceeds to leave through the window. But as soon as Gabriel's father closes the door and departs, she stops Rob from leaving, and the two watch the spelling bee together. In the final scene, the young do make out and have intercourse. The day isn't reset this time, and Rob is still in bed with Gabriel. The time loop has been broken, as it turns out the two were meant to be together. And this is why the universe kept repeating itself until they found their way to each other.